I remember that night in the woods like it was yesterday. The crisp autumn air sent shivers down my spine as I set up camp with my friends, unaware of the horrors that awaited us. We were surrounded by towering trees, their branches swaying ominously in the moonlit sky. Little did we know, our peaceful camping trip would soon become a nightmare. As the darkness settled in, we gathered around the crackling campfire, sharing ghost stories and laughter. The flames danced and cast eerie shadows on our faces, heightening the sense of unease that permeated the air. I couldn't help but notice the distant sound of twigs snapping and leaves rustling, but I dismissed it as nothing more than the forest's nocturnal inhabitants. But then, it happened. A blood-curdling scream pierced the silence, cutting through the night like a knife. We all jumped to our feet, hearts pounding in our chests. It sounded like it came from deep within the woods, filled with agony and despair. The once lively atmosphere turned somber and tense. Driven by a mix of curiosity and concern, we decided to investigate the source of the scream. Armed with flashlights, we ventured into the darkness, our beams piercing through the thick foliage. The woods felt alive, watching us with unseen eyes, whispering secrets we weren't meant to know. As we delved deeper into the forest, a sense of foreboding settled upon us like a heavy blanket. The path ahead grew narrower, the trees closing in on us, as if guiding us towards an unknown destination. The silence was suffocating, broken only by the sound of our heavy breaths and the soft crunch of leaves under our boots. Suddenly, we stumbled upon a small clearing bathed in moonlight. In the center stood an old, dilapidated cabin, its wooden walls covered in moss and decay. The air was heavy with the stench of rot, as if the cabin had witnessed unimaginable horrors throughout the years. Despite our better judgment, we couldn't resist the allure of the cabin's mysteries. We cautiously pushed open the creaking door, revealing a scene straight out of a nightmare. The room was cluttered with broken furniture, cobwebs stretching from corner to corner. Dust particles danced in the air, casting an ethereal glow on the remnants of a forgotten past. As our eyes adjusted to the darkness, we noticed a tattered journal lying on a dusty wooden table. With trembling hands, I picked it up and began to read. The journal belonged to a man named Henry, who had sought solace in the woods. His entries were filled with despair, detailing his encounters with a malevolent presence that haunted him day and night. The more I read, the deeper I sank into the twisted reality of this forgotten soul. Lost in the journal's haunting tales, I failed to notice the footsteps approaching from behind. A cold hand clamped down on my shoulder, sending a chill down my spine. I turned around, only to find myself face to face with Henry himself, his eyes vacant and hollow. In a voice laced with desperation, he warned us to leave before it was too late. The malevolent presence he had written about was not a mere figment of his imagination. It was real, and it hungered for more souls to torment. With that, he disappeared into thin air, leaving us paralyzed with fear. In a frenzy, we scrambled out of the cabin, racing back through the woods, guided by the moon's faint glow. The once familiar path had become a labyrinth, trapping us within its grasp. Shadows danced around us, whispering dreadful secrets that threatened to drive us to madness. Just when we thought we were lost forever, a ray of hope appeared. The distant glow of our campfire flickered through the trees, guiding us back to safety. We burst through the foliage, gasping for breath, and collapsed onto the dew-covered ground. As we caught our breath, we realized something chilling. We were one person short. Our friend, Sarah, was nowhere to be found. Panic set in as we frantically called out her name, but the forest remained eerily silent. With trepidation, we mustered the courage to return to the cabin, fearing the worst. As we cautiously pushed open the door once again, a scene of pure horror awaited us. Sarah's lifeless body hung from the rafters, her eyes wide open in a haunting gaze. A gut-wrenching realization washed over us. The presence that haunted Henry, the same malevolent entity that had tormented him, had claimed Sarah as its latest victim. It had lured us into its dark domain, playing with our fears and feasting on our souls. Tears streamed down our faces as we held each other, grieving the loss of our dear friend. We knew that we had narrowly escaped the clutches of an unspeakable evil. The forest had transformed from a serene sanctuary to a labyrinth of terror, forever etching its sinister presence in our memories. We stumbled out of the cabin, vowing never to return to those cursed woods again. But the horrors we witnessed that night would forever haunt our dreams, a reminder of the malevolent forces that lurked just beyond the veil of our reality. And so, the story of our ill-fated camping trip ended, with a twist that shattered our sense of security. We had embarked on an adventure seeking solace in nature's embrace, but instead, we were thrust into a nightmare that would forever darken our souls. To this day, I can still hear the echo of that blood-curdling scream, carried by the wind through the trees. It serves as a chilling reminder that there are things in this world, hidden in the shadows, that we may never comprehend. And perhaps, it's best that way, for some secrets are better left undisturbed, buried deep within the darkness of the woods. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting eerie shadows across the desolate campground, I felt a chill run down my spine. My friends and I had decided to embark on a weekend camping trip deep in the heart of the forest, seeking an adventure away from the trappings of civilization. Little did we know, this excursion would take us to the edge of our sanity. We set up our tents in a clearing surrounded by towering trees that seemed to whisper secrets to one another. The crackling of the campfire provided a false sense of security, as if it could keep the encroaching darkness at bay. Over time, the warmth of the fire faded, and we huddled closer together, exchanging tales of ghostly encounters and mythical creatures that haunted these woods. As midnight approached, the forest fell into an unsettling silence. Our laughter ceased, and a thick fog settled over the campsite, obscuring our vision. It felt as if the very air had turned heavy with an unspoken presence. We were on edge, our senses heightened, and every rustle of leaves or snap of a twig sent shivers down our spines. Unable to sleep, I decided to take a walk, hoping the crisp night air would calm my racing heart. The moonlight barely penetrated the thick canopy overhead, creating an eerie tableau of shadows dancing in the darkness. I followed a narrow trail deeper into the woods, guided only by my flashlight's feeble beam. As I ventured further, an unsettling feeling washed over me. It was as if unseen eyes were watching my every move, and the silence was suffocating. Suddenly, my flashlight flickered and died, leaving me stranded in the pitch-black darkness. Panic clawed at my throat as I groped blindly for my phone, desperately trying to illuminate my surroundings. Finally, a dim glow illuminated the forest, casting eerie shadows on the trees. It was then that I noticed something peculiar. The trees were adorned with grotesque masks, each one more menacing than the last. They seemed to leer at me, their lifeless eyes piercing through my soul. Heart pounding, I turned to retrace my steps, only to find that the path had vanished, swallowed by the sinister forest. Fear gripped me like a vice as I stumbled through the underbrush, each step leading me deeper into the unknown. Strange whispers echoed through the darkness, growing louder with every passing moment. My mind played tricks on me, conjuring images of malevolent figures lurking just out of sight. Just as despair threatened to consume me, a faint light flickered in the distance. Hope surged through my veins as I followed its beacon-like glow. The light led me to a small cabin nestled among the trees. Relief washed over me, and I eagerly approached the door, yearning for safety. But as I stepped inside, the true horror awaited me. The cabin was filled with an unsettling silence, broken only by the sound of a creaking floorboard. Shadows danced on the walls, and I felt a presence lurking behind me. With a gasp, I turned, only to come face to face with my own reflection in a dusty, cracked mirror. In that twisted moment, I realized the horrifying truth. The forest had manipulated my senses, ensnaring me in its nightmarish grip. It had toyed with my fear, distorting reality until I could no longer trust my own perception. I was trapped, a mere pawn in the forest's sadistic game. As the night wore on, the forest claimed me, its captive, forever lost to the darkness. And in the depths of those haunted woods, my friends would discover the horrifying fate that awaited them as well, their screams echoing through the trees as they succumbed to the same twisted illusions. I was now trapped in a labyrinth of deceit, where reality and nightmares intertwined. The forest seemed alive, pulsating with a malevolent energy that fed on our fear. Each passing moment eroded my sanity, leaving me teetering on the edge of madness. The days turned into nights, and the line between dreams and waking life blurred. I stumbled through the forest, haunted by apparitions and plagued by whispers that seemed to come from every direction. The faces on the trees twisted and contorted, their expressions mocking my desperation. One fateful evening, as I wandered aimlessly, a soft melody reached my ears. It was a haunting tune, carried by a gentle breeze that whispered through the trees. Drawn to the melodic call, I followed it deeper into the heart of the forest, my heart pounding in anticipation. The ethereal melody led me to a clearing bathed in moonlight. In the center stood a solitary figure, cloaked in shadows. As I approached, the figure turned, revealing a face that mirrored my own. It was as if I was staring into a twisted reflection, a doppelganger born from the depths of my own fears. Words escaped me as the doppelganger extended a hand, its touch cold and clammy. A surge of realization flooded through me. This was no mere illusion or figment of the forest's torment. This doppelganger was my true self, the embodiment of my darkest desires and fears. In that moment, the forest's twisted game became clear. It didn't just aim to terrify, it sought to strip away our facades, to reveal the depths of our souls. It preyed upon our insecurities and weaknesses, exploiting them to break us down, piece by piece. With a sense of resignation, I accepted the doppelganger's outstretched hand, knowing that it was futile to fight against the forest's malevolence. The doppelganger's touch merged our beings, melding our identities into one. Time lost all meaning as the forest consumed me completely. I became part of its unholy tapestry, forever trapped in a nightmarish existence. The once vibrant and innocent camping trip had transformed into a twisted dance with the supernatural, leaving only whispers of our presence behind. To this day, the forest continues its macabre rituals, luring unsuspecting souls into its depths. Its hunger for fear and anguish remains insatiable, and those who venture too close become lost within its eternal grasp. So, heed this warning, should you ever find yourself enticed by the allure of the unknown, treading into the heart of the haunted woods, remember the tale of our doomed camping trip. Beware the forest's seductive call, for it is a place where nightmares are born, and the line between reality and madness is forever blurred. I remember that camping trip vividly, the one that sent chills down my spine and left me questioning the very fabric of reality. It was a beautiful summer evening when my friends and I decided to venture into the wilderness for a weekend getaway. Little did we know, this adventure would take an unimaginable turn. We arrived at the campsite just as dusk settled in, casting eerie shadows among the towering trees. The air was thick with anticipation as we set up our tents, feeling the isolation of the wilderness surround us. The crackling campfire provided solace against the encroaching darkness, but it couldn't ward off the uneasiness that loomed over us. As the night progressed, strange occurrences began to unfold. Faint whispers, like ghosts on the wind, danced through the trees, but whenever we turned to investigate, there was only silence. My heart pounded in my chest, and a cold shiver crawled up my spine as I caught glimpses of movement in the periphery of my vision. Yet every time I glanced in that direction, nothing was there. Our unease escalated when we heard a rustling from the woods nearby. We gathered around the campfire, clutching our flashlights, hoping to catch a glimpse of whatever lurked in the darkness. Shadows seemed to dance and sway, taking on grotesque shapes that twisted and contorted, only to disappear as quickly as they had appeared. It was as if the very essence of the forest was alive and taunting us. Unable to bear the tension any longer, we decided to venture deeper into the woods to investigate the source of the eerie sounds. We followed a narrow path that led us into a dense thicket. The air grew thick with a sickly sweet stench, suffocating us with each step. A sense of dread consumed me, as if I were being swallowed by an unseen presence. Suddenly, We stumbled upon a dilapidated cabin, hidden amongst the trees. The windows were broken, and the door creaked ominously as we pushed it open. Inside, the room was filled with an otherworldly darkness that seemed to devour any hint of light. Shadows clung to the walls, shifting and writhing as though they had a life of their own. It was then that we noticed a photograph, sitting atop a dusty table. In the picture, we saw ourselves, camping in this very spot. But the date on the back sent a chill down my spine. It was dated 2 days in the future. Panic seized us as we realized we were trapped in a sinister loop, destined to relive this nightmarish camping trip over and over again. As we desperately tried to escape, the forest closed in around us, suffocating our every attempt. The whispering grew louder, echoing in our ears until we couldn't discern reality from madness. In the end, we were swallowed by the darkness, becoming part of the terrifying tale that would haunt future campers. And so, my friends, be cautious when you venture into the wilderness. For there are forces beyond our understanding, waiting to ensnare the unwary in their sinister grasp. May this tale serve as a warning to all those who dare to enter the unknown, where reality can twist and morph into a nightmare beyond imagination.